take a moment to do introductions as to who is here at the table, and then I want to just take a few minutes before we get into the reports to talk about, for those who are new and for those about the organization of the SPC. And I'll have to repeat myself come the commission meeting, but I think it's important that everybody knows, what the structure is of the commission and the corporation and the board and what we're voting on today, both now and later as part of the meetings. So let's start with introductions. I'm Leslie Oshie. I am current chairman of SPC. I am on the Board of Commissioners for Butler County, and welcome.
Pat Fabian, Armstrong County Commissioner, Vice Chair of SPC, been involved since 2016.
Rich Fitzgerald, Executive Director, and as we go around with the directors who are here, and you're going to hear from many of our directors, I also would ask them to point out which department they're in charge of and which folks are working with them, assisting you in doing the thing, starting with DJ Ryan.
Everybody, DJ Ryan, Director of Strategic Initiatives and Policy. I supervise freight planning, environmental planning, as well as our sponsored programs department. I don't think anyone from my team is in the room, but I will point them out to you in a second.
I'm Faith Collins. I'm Community Capacity Coordinator. I work under Jennifer Lasser in Workforce and Economic Development.
Everybody, Jen Lasser, Director of Workforce and Economic Development, handle all things small business support, comprehensive economic development strategy planning, grant technical assistance for EDA, ARC, and a few others. And really, if it touches workforce economic development, it's probably coming through this team.
Good afternoon, everybody. Dominic DeAndrea, Director of Transportation Planning here at SPC. Broken down into 4 units. Program development, transit planning, transportation demand management, including pedestrian and bicycle planning, and also operations and safety. And in the room with me today is Manager of Operations and Safety, Joshua Span.
Hi, I'm Elisa Sobian. I am the Director of Finance, and nobody from my group is here today.
Good afternoon. As Dawn mentioned, I'm Joshua Spano. I'm the Manager of Transportation Operations and Safety in our Transportation Department.
I'm Kirk Brethauer, Director of Office Data and Information Systems. Our team is the bulk of the data repository that the other teams use. With me today is Chuck Imbrognos, head of our modeling group. So Chuck's team puts together our long-range forecasts, our economic forecasts, air quality conformity, and we're also the census repository. Other teams we have is our HPMS, Highway Performance Management Systems. Those folks do traffic counts out in the field and also travel patterns. And lastly, our GIS resources is under my area. And finally, IT systems.
Hi, I'm Mary Brangan. I'm Program Administrator here at SPC. I support the staff and also you guys. So if you need anything, give me a call and I'll help you out.
I'm Sarah Naranjo. I'm the new Rich Fitzgerald. Allegheny County Executive, but before that, I was in the State House and on Transportation Committee, so I did crash a couple SPC meetings in my day. So I'm glad to be around this table and get to know all of you and see how we can work together.
Welcome. Just a little younger, that's all.
Might be a little better. Have to harass them a little bit.
I'm Brandon Leach with the PennDOT Center for Program Development and Management. I'm basically the PennDOT Central Office MPO liaison for the SPC. So I support them with things regarding TIP development, LRTP, UPWP. I know I've tossed around acronyms, but that's what PennDOT has.
Oh, we know.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Dusty Elias Kirk, and I'm an attorney at Reed Smith, and we are your outside general counsel. And I'm the one that you'll see here that does most of the communication with your board and your staff.
Shireen Hess, Indiana County Commissioner, and I'm in my 3rd term, so I've seen a lot of stuff go on at SPC, but looking forward to lots of new stuff and good things to come for our communities.
I'm Betsy McClure from Greene County, and this is my 2nd term as a commissioner and first time at this meeting.
Hi, everyone. Robin Gorman, Indiana County Commissioner. I am in my second term, and I held a position at IUP for 20 years prior to my first term. So I have a big familiarity with SBC because I served for the universities. I'm a long way.
Mark Gordon, Butler County. I handle economic development plans for the county.
Anthony Shea, Armstrong County Commissioner, newly sworn in, so I'm starting to learn stuff.
Ian Kennedy, Lawrence County Commissioner, newly elected.
Tony Amadeo, Beaver County Commissioner, fifth term, and just visiting.
Love that.
You want to hear, we take you guys are doing a lot of great, and we do everything from social media, someone from that have been making towels, they get us to prepare out our news events, our newsletter, all that sort of stuff. And a couple of people, actually, I have two people and they're both here. So I'm
Howard and Bosnians. They all probably heard from me in regards to the public comment period that's coming up. With being the full commission.
I'm Kevin Boozle, Butler County Commissioner.
Nick Sherman, Kevin found me in the parking lot and I followed him in. Nick Sherman, Washington County Commissioner. Just finished up my first term onto my second, newly appointed chairman.
Great. That's the second. Back to the Judge Schultz.
Jeremy Bob, I'm the multimedia developer working under Caitlin, video and media production and marketing and branding, all that stuff.
And he has the best shoes. Just
Dr. Brogdon, Models and Data Manager here at SBC, working with the clerk. Anything you need in terms of data, process, modeling, let us know. We don't have it.
Dave, you just joined us.
Dave Lord, Fayette County.
So, thank you. Fayette County Commissioner.
Sorry.
So I want to just take a minute and Dusty, you can correct me if I say anything that is not right. But I wanted, this is a little bit complicated, the commission and the corporation. So I think it's important to take a moment and try to give a very quick high-level overview of these two entities. So you have the SBC Corporation and the commission, two separate entities, the corporate, but related. So the corporation itself was formed really, I think, in the day to provide a space and a building for the commission, and the commission being a multi-municipal planning organization that takes in the federal money for economic development and transportation. So the corporation was formed, and its purpose is to make sure that the commission and this planning organization has a staff and a place to work and approves contracts as such related. Is that accurate on the corporation?
Yes, I think it ended up buying a building that had a lot of public entities into it. And as I went through the bylaws of the corporation, the bylaws of the commission, they really were not the same, and maybe the corporation may not be necessary since you all.
The corporation is necessary.
So
it's what pays the staff. It pays all the bills. It's the sales tax exempt. It's the
yes, that's going to be part of the bylaws.
Sure.
Work that we do, Alyssa. So yes,
but it is. Go ahead. No, I was just going to say it's necessary now, and all I want to do is explain it's here now.
Yes.
We'll be here all day because we can all debate this, but the bottom line is there is a board of the corporation that is representative of all of the members of the corporation, which are the 10 counties and the city of Pittsburgh. So each one of those entities has a board member, as well as the CEO and director, which is Rich Fitzgerald currently, is also a member of that board. So there is a corporation board, and that's part of what this meeting is. When it comes to the commission itself, the commission then has each of the members, again, the 10 counties plus the city of Pittsburgh, has 5 members, and there's some details about that. So each one of them has 5 members. Then there is also a representative of, there are 2 appointees from PennDOT. There is an appointee from, by the Secretary of Commerce, so it's, or Department of Community and Economic Development. So it would be DCED has a seat, as well as, who am I missing? The governor's office has a seat. Okay, so that's the commission, but then there's also non-voting members from the FTA, the Federal Highway, the FAA. They can all have seats, as well as the DEP and the Economic Development Arm, EDA. So they're members of the non-voting members of the commission, but essentially the commission, for the most part, again, is 5 members from 5 appointees from each of the 11 members. That again being the 10 counties in the city of Pittsburgh primary. So then the commission itself. So that would be, nearly 60, probably 60 or more members really of the commission. The commission then has an executive committee that is 17 members currently. So that'll be something we'll discuss later, but what's meeting right now is the board and members of the commission's executive committee. That is what's current, and those would be the members before we vote later today on the executive committee and new board leadership later today. So just wanted to be clear about the organization.
Yeah,
clear as mud, right?
Yeah, I realize I surprised Elizabeth that we've been doing as the law firm that's representing you is studying what other NPOs and state agencies do and how they're operating around the Commonwealth and the country. And the bylaws for both are different. So we are going to, elect executive committee and directors for the corporation, the officers today. And we're also going to be electing for the commission. But the corporation is a nonprofit that when I go back and look at the bylaws and everything from 1999, that's when it was the last time they were updated. It was formed really to own real estate that you all don't own any longer.
Well, the bylaws were updated in either 2010 or 12.
There's 2001 and there's 2010. I have all those.
Yeah, because that agreement for 1999 was for the corporation to take over the new commission.
So I think that we, as I think that the commission, your elected officers then will need to determine what to do and to set up a committee to look at all this.
Oh, yeah.
So that I just wanted to clarify.
But for those
what's going on, we are going to be operating the corporation this year. We're going to have and we have to go through a whole procedure to determine how best to operate and look at other MPOs in our state, what they're doing, what the federal government says we need to do.
So I just wanted, for those who are new, corporation commission has a board, all representatives of the counties plus the city of Pittsburgh and the current sitting director, that's the board. Again, the commission has an executive committee of 17 members. And that executive committee meets in conjunction with the board currently. That's the current structure. And then we will have the full commission meeting at 4:00. So that's where we are, because I thought I can tell you that when we all first walked into office, and probably most of us have still been confused in this process. So it's been, we got it done, we get things done, that's for certain, but I'm not sure that everybody, even at this date, has a full understanding of, because it's complex. It has been very complex. But we're going to work through all the good stuff now, I think. So if you would then, Alicia, who is our finance director, if you would give us our finance report.
Not a whole lot going on there. Our revenue and expenses are about $7.5 million at this point, which is about 31% of budget. That's a little behind where we should be, but a lot of that's just due to a lot of, in the budget, a lot of these grants that are multiple years are in there at the full amount because we don't know when that stuff will be spent. So that's why the little bit of a discrepancy. But other than that, not too much else. If you ever decide that you want me to report on anything differently, please let me know.
And it is the first of time. We don't need to accept that. Then we'll move on. Thank you, Elisa, to the transportation report, and Andrea, Director of Transportation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Got a lot to report on here, so I'll try to go as quickly as I can. I'm going to go through some of the activities that our department's working on. I'll go through some safety awards that were recently made by PennDOT. I'll go through our tip schedule, and then I'll turn it over to Josh Spano, who's going to briefly talk about our federal safety targets that we've been asked to look at again. So, all right, you got the next slide up there. Great. So just some department activities I want to talk about. I mentioned at the onset that we have 4 units in my department. Operations and safety. That unit is currently working on the 4th cycle of the signal program. For those of you that don't know, there's a regional traffic signal program that is administered by SPC that provides assistance to municipalities on their traffic signals. In the state of Pennsylvania, all traffic signals are operated and maintained by local governments. So right now we're providing assistance with signal equipment and retiming. And typically this money is used to retime corridors. So you have a good coordinated flow of traffic with coordinated signals. So we are assisting 16 communities right now across 5 counties, involving 89 traffic signals, totaling about $2.7 million. So 4th cycle is underway. 5th cycle, we're working on project agreements with municipalities and reimbursement agreements with PennDOT for the 5th cycle. We've been doing this program since about 2009 or 10, and we're in our 5th cycle, and benefit costs for this program are over 50 to 1 in terms of dollars of public benefit to dollars spent. So this unit is also working on road safety audits, where we do about 3 road safety audits a year. We recently completed one on West Liberty Avenue in the Dormont and Mount Lebanon area in Allegheny County. We are currently working on an audit of State Route 422 in Butler County near the fairgrounds. And later this year, they plan on performing a safety audit for Morganza, McMurray Road in Washington County. We do three road safety audits every fiscal year. Requests come from any roadway owner, PennDOT, county, local. The request must come from a roadway owner. We're working on, those are the 3 we're working on this year. If there are future candidates, please let us know. We will look at the candidates and look at the crash data to determine if it's a worthy candidate to move forward with an audit on. This unit also handles our local technical assistance program with our partners at PennDOT. We have coordinated 8 classes for this year. Classes like equipment and worker safety, public works, principles of paving and drainage, things like that. The real purpose of this is to really bring the training to the municipalities so that they don't have to travel to Harrisburg and State College. So we coordinate with our PennDOT partners to bring the training to the municipality. So the trainings, we've coordinated, as I said, 8 classes. It involved 183 people. We've had trainings in Indiana, Allegheny, Butler, Westmoreland, and Beaver County. And the spring trainings are being planned currently. Our transit planning. We are working on an update to our public transit human services coordinated transportation plan. This is a plan that identifies gaps in transportation access and pays particular attention to ensuring equitable access for seniors, persons with disabilities, and low-income individuals. Our current plan is quite dated. It's on our website, so we're working on an update of that plan this year. Our transit folks are also working on the transit portion of our TIP. I'll get to our TIP a little later. And our transit folks are also assisting Butler Transit with a demonstration funding application for microtransit in Butler County. Program development folks, they are working on our highway bridge TIP. Currently, we're also working on our Smart Transportation for Livable Communities program. That is an SPC grant program that I'll get to the details of that at the commission meeting. And then we're also, as we mentioned at an earlier meeting, providing assistance with some discretionary grant applications that folks are working on. Our transportation demand management group, just some highlights there. We are preparing for an update to our regional active transportation plan. That plan focuses on safe, convenient, and comfortable pedestrian and bicycling environments as part of more livable communities. So that plan is also due for an update. And we're working on a new commute info van pool contract with Enterprise. As you know, we run the commute info van pool out of SPC. So next slide, please. I wanted to also bring your attention to some recent PennDOT awards in the Highway Safety Improvement Program. SPC staff coordinated with PennDOT districts on these applications. There were 13 awards within our region. It came out of PennDOT Harrisburg Central Office, totaling a little over $17 million. And shown on this slide are 5 awards in Allegheny County, including a wrong-way detection system for Route 28 covering 10 interchanges. If you folks have been paying attention, there were some special news stories about wrong-way crashes, especially on Route 28. So that grant's going to cover a wrong-way detection system project there. Also in Allegheny, 3 new roundabouts, 2 in Ross Township, 1 in Bethel Park, and continued funding for the Liberty Avenue Safety Project, which is envisioned by the city and PennDOT as a road guide project in the Strip District area here. In Beaver County, there's funding for a new roundabout, as well as, at the Route 151 location in South Heights Borough. And again, I'll just mention a few of these roundabout locations were identified in SPC's regional roundabout screening study completed a few years ago. Next slide, please. So rounding out these safety improvement awards, we have 1 in Waynesburg, Greene County, a 2-way left turn lane in Waynesburg. We have 4 awards in Westmoreland County, a new signal, as well as surface treatment in Washington Township, signage in Delmont Borough, and a flashing beacon in Jeanette. 1 award in Washington County, which is a flashing beacon in Peters Township, and 1 award in Fayette County, which involves countywide curve improvement project. So these awards were just made. These projects most of them are in their infancy, and I'm sure that the PennDOT districts will be reaching out to each of the communities to get things started. Next slide, please. All right, I wanted to talk about the TIP schedule. The Transportation Improvement Program. That is for those new folks, that is our 4-year transportation plan that is updated every 2 years. So we had 20 work group meetings, almost 7 in each PennDOT district that started in July of last year and ended last Friday. Those meetings involved your county representatives, your county planning representatives, as well as PennDOT folks and others. So we've completed those meetings. As I presented at the last commission meeting, we also selected our transportation alternatives, CMAQ, and carbon reduction projects. Award letters went out 2 weeks ago, and we are coordinating press releases and press events with the project sponsors. Our first round of public participation panel meetings, as many of you know, to gain feedback on our TIP development were completed in early December. We had one public meeting in each county and one in the city of Pittsburgh. So a total of 11 public participation panel meetings. They were generally well attended and well received. In early January, moving forward, we submitted the pre-draft TIP project list to PennDOT Central Office in Harrisburg for review and comment. Their review is ongoing. And as a follow-up to today's meeting, we will be providing the project list to the full commission before the next April meeting, so you folks know what's in the TIP. Here in the spring, we will be conducting the required air quality conformity analysis and environmental justice reviews. Those are federally required analysis that we have to move forward with, and we'll begin preparing the draft documents. We will open solicitation, evaluate and select projects for our Smart Transportation for Livable Communities program. More on that particular program at the full commission meeting. We will open up a 30-day public comment period and go back out to the public and hold a second round of 11 public meetings for public feedback on the draft TIP. That'll occur from May 9th to June 6th. Rhonda, our public involvement coordinator, is starting to schedule those meetings with you all in the hopes of bringing the updated 2025-2028 TIP to the full commission on June 24th of this year. Next slide. Any questions on any of and all of that? Okay. With that, then I'm just going to turn it over to Josh. It's that time of year. PennDOT has sent us a letter asking for support of their statewide federal safety targets. They are the same targets as last year. In just a quick summary, I don't mean to steal Josh's thunder. If we go with staff recommendation, there's really no need for action. We supported the same targets last year, so there's no required action needed if we go with staff recommendation. Josh, why don't you walk us through that?
Yeah, thank you. So as part of MAP 21, the federal transportation legislation a few years back established a wide range of federal performance metrics, 20 to be exact. 5 of those you can see on the board there in regards to safety. And really, they help us to really align with some of our federal transportation safety funds and our HSIP programs and things like that. These are conducted on a 5-year rolling average to basically roll out any outliers. You can see there's the 5 metrics: number of fatalities, rate of fatalities, number of serious injuries, rate of serious injuries, and number of non-motorized fatalities and non-motorized injuries combined. And again, this is for on all public roadways. Next slide. So as Don mentioned there, we can either support the state DOT's target or establish our own for the 5 metrics. Next slide, please. And so again, as Don mentioned there, PennDOT is asking us to continue support of our 2% reduction in fatalities. As he mentioned, no change from last year, as well as PennDOT is also asking us to continue to support a 0% reduction for serious injury goals, which is a no change from last year. And I'll talk a little bit about that here shortly. Just looking at the overall change from 2021 to 2022 based on the data, we have our 2022 data now. As we all know, 2020 was a pandemic year, and we're still kind of feeling those effects in the year 2021, 2022, and even 2023. Statewide and regionally, vehicle miles traveled is down at still about 3% to about 6% statewide. And then if you look at the SBC region itself, we saw decreases in serious injuries, non-motorized fatalities, and non-motorized serious injuries. However, we did see a little bit of a spike in overall fatalities, although compared to the statewide, they went up about 0.6% in fatalities and non-motorized, where we actually went down. So if you look at it as a whole, we're kind of doing about the same, although you can see we did really well in SBC non-motorized fatalities, down about 20% from 2021. Next slide, please. So if you look at the actual numbers here, these are the actual data and raw numbers from 2020, 2021, and 2022, and then apply to the 2% reduction for fatalities, and then a 0% reduction in serious injuries, and then those numbers corresponding to the non-motorized injuries and fatalities as well. You can actually see the raw numbers broken down by fatalities and serious injuries at the bottom there. So if you look at 2020, we saw 22 fatalities and 80 serious injuries in 2022 for non-motorized. But nonetheless, here, go back real quick, sorry. So as Don mentioned there, we're not changing anything. We felt that a 2% reduction in fatalities was still a reasonable goal. And then we also feel a 0% reduction in serious injuries as well. Although it be somewhat conservative due to the fluctuations, you can see the numbers from 2020 to 2021 and then back down to 2022. Those numbers tend to fluctuate a bit more. And then also VMT still being a bit down. We felt that 0% was still a reasonable target.
Yeah, so the targets that we set have to be reasonable and achievable.
Correct.
And you see fluctuation there, for example, in the serious injuries, going from 865 in 2020 to 1041 in 2021, back down to 970 2022. So, reasonable and achievable is hopefully not to increase from there.
Correct.
But the fatalities we've seen over the course of the last 20 years, Josh will show you on the next chart.
Yeah.
So it's been a steady decline. Not sure if we're going to really reach the goal that we set for ourselves a few years back, but Josh, why don't you?
Yeah, the last slide. And nonetheless, that's why we do the five-year rolling averages, to kind of take out those outlier years. And so you can see when we started doing this back in 2006, it's been for the most part, a steady decline up into our latest reporting area. And then that's the target that we originally set back in 2006, cutting fatalities in half. And so we'd get down to 130. We're probably not on that trajectory, as Dawn mentioned, but nonetheless, we're still on the way down towards reducing fatalities in our region. So
yeah, back when we did the first safety action plan, the goal was to cut fatalities in half by 2030. And so we wanted to go from 260 to 130 in terms of a 5-year rolling average. And the feds use 5-year rolling averages because of the year-to-year fluctuation. But we're getting there. I'd say the last couple of reporting periods have not been below that red line. But I'm not sure we're going to get to 130 by 2030, but that's still the goal. That's still the goal.
So that's it. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Move on then to, thanks to both of you. Move on then to strategic initiative policy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hi, everybody. We can go to the next slide, please. So I'll go through a few updates quickly, and then if anybody has questions, we can dive into more details. So 2 grants since our last meeting that I want to share with you. One is the Safe Streets for All grant, which Josh's team worked very heavily on, actually, for a Vision Zero pilot program for Allegheny County. It was just over $500,000. I say pilot program because we hope to expand that program to all of the counties in the near future. We just wanted to start. We wanted to start somewhere. And the other one is the MPDG grant that I mentioned in executive or in policy committee. It's $142.9 million, likely the largest grant, the transportation grant SPC's ever received. That is to redo large portions of the East Busway and fix up and make some enhancements to the Parkway East, including transit connections. What I neglected to put on there is also the spike funding. We got $130 million from PennDOT for the West End, Fort Duquesne, and McKeith Rocks bridges. I know a lot of you were involved in spike funding discussions in the past, and so we were really pleased to see that. On the Allegheny River, again,
I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second.
Yeah.
On these 2 grants that DJ talked about, the $142 million and the $130 million, we had always known that we were not getting our fair share in spike funding. So we took a trip a couple of years ago Commissioner Oshie, Commissioner Fabian, Commissioner Fusides, Mayor Gainey, myself, met with and I'll say argued vociferously. Would you say that, Madam Chair?
I would say that.
Yes. Met with the governor and met with a couple key people that one was a state representative at the time by the name of Austin Davis, and one was a minority chairman of a committee named Mike Carroll. And we made the case that we were getting shortchanged. And when they took office, took the higher office, they remembered that. And this year they gave us $130 million. And I think our largest spike funding that we ever got to do the West End Bridge, the Fort Duquesne Bridge, the McKees Rocks Bridge, and a Route 8 interchange up in Hampton Township. And also the $142 million grant that we got, we were turned down the first time we got that grant. And we were lucky enough to have the secretary, the federal secretary, Buttigieg, come into town. And this guy said, if you get a chance to talk to him, would you let him know that we got turned down, but we shouldn't have gotten turned down? Well, luckily, in the position I used to serve, which Sarah now serves, greeting the First Lady as she came to Pittsburgh International Airport, her plane was late, which was lucky for us because I got to corner Mr. Buttigieg for about 15 minutes and made a strong case about why we didn't get that $142 million. Next go round, he did. The reason I'm saying that is it's so important that we're in contact with the key legislators, the key secretaries that we're dealing with. And we'll talk about some trips we might want to take in the future. But those two grants, may not have happened, but for all the lobbying that we were able to do over these last couple of years.
No, you're absolutely right. So just moving on to the Allegheny River, just to give you a quick overview in case you missed policy committee. We received a copy of a letter that the General Spellman, the Commanding General of the Army Corps, sent to Congressman Reschenthaler, essentially saying that the Army Corps will consider impacts to levels of service cuts before making them. And I'm happy to share a copy of that letter with anybody who wants to see it. But bottom line there is we were encouraged that the Army Corps knows that Congress is paying attention. However, there's nothing binding there. And so we'd still like to see legislation. And that's where, in part, the Water Resources Development Act comes in, and also a resolution that will come before all of you at full commission endorsing Senator Casey's waterways bill. I'll save that conversation for commission, though. Also happy to say that in an effort to continue getting more funding for the region, we hired a new development associate, Ozzie Benhart, and Ozzie is going to work under Lily Gabreski in our development office. So if you have any needs for grant funding, please don't hesitate to reach out. I think we'll be listening, so I will add Lily Gabreski is the same Lily Gabreski who you might recognize for being on Pittsburgh Business Times 30 Under 30 list. She'll hate me saying that, but I was really proud of her for that, so congratulations. Next slide, please. Oh, you already did. Thank you. On the broadband front, we had a great presentation at Policy Committee from our colleagues at Michael Baker, who've been working on our Digital Navigator survey, our curriculum resource guide, and our asset and demographic mapping tools. I will, in your materials that come out after the meeting, you'll get a link to those tools. And so I'll just say briefly that if you have anyone in your communities who is doing digital navigator work or cares about digital literacy, please let me know, because I'd love to make sure that they get a copy of our survey. And I'll also say that if you have any feedback on the documents and tools that we send out, I'd really love to hear from you. We are in the process of finding out how SPC can be the most helpful without being duplicative of some of the good work already happening in your counties. So that's our goal with that. And lastly, the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant, which we talked at great length about last meeting. On the planning side of it, we've received a $1 million planning grant from the EPA to study the impact of greenhouse gas emissions, take an inventory of them, and to furthermore determine ways that we can reduce greenhouse gas emissions in the region. That planning is going very well. We had a public meeting for the Priority Climate Action Plan in mid-February, and we will be submitting our final Priority Climate Action Plan to the EPA on March 1st. We have a couple bits of paperwork to get approved from the EPA first. So as soon as we do that, we'll be able to share the draft with all of you if anybody wants to take a look. I should mention that this effort is a priority plan. We have another 14 months of work on planning to do a comprehensive climate action plan that's going to get very granular and really give us a lot more information, and we'll keep you posted on that work. On the implementation side, the second resolution that I'll bring before Commission today is for SPC to submit an application on behalf of our region to the EPA for implementation grant for the CPRG. The idea here is that, and I'll go into a lot more detail later, but we've had a ton of interest. Over 70 potential partner organizations have reached out to us and given us ideas for more than $2 billion in projects, simply for information gathering at this point. That was just what came to us. We didn't really have to work all that hard to get that information. So needless to say, there is a need for some of this funding. We absolutely believe we can spend it here. And we've had a lot of great discussions, both within and without of SPC about how best to tackle this application. And we believe that a application from SPC on the region's behalf is the best way to go. Again, I'll talk more about that at the full commission, but I'll stop talking for now unless anybody has questions.
Okay. Hearing none. Thank you so much. Is it certain nobody else has a question? Jim? All right, thank you. We'll move on then to workforce and economic development. Jen?
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Excuse me. So just kind of a little bit of a reminder with the workforce economic development team, we kind of separate ourselves in about 3 areas. So first is small business support. The second would be comprehensive economic development planning, including workforce, and then community capacity and grant technical assistance. So kind of have this down into 3 slides. So the first is just under our partnerships for regional economic performance and community performance areas. Export's doing an amazing job. 15 companies were assisted with 25 counseling sessions. We had 4 companies with 5 overseas work orders. And then we hosted 2 amazing events, Southwest Regional Export Network Planning Meeting and a Go Global with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Under our government contract technical assistance, 12 companies were assisted, counseling sessions. And we had contract awards for 15 companies with over $4.1 million in awards. So again, as we're working to support our small businesses who are out there supporting the economy, 2 events were held and attended with the Tri-State Mega Matchmaker and Project Spectrum training. Under our commercial lending assistance, first I wanted to say thank you again. There's no action needed for this meeting, but you all quickly approved 2 loans for us in December and January. And that was very helpful for those employers because when we have these bi-monthly meetings in which you normally approve things, that means that we're holding off on the closing of those loans. So the fact that you all came to so quick for that, I can't thank you enough on behalf of the businesses. But 17 companies were assisted with 18 counseling sessions. We had 1 loan closed for Madeline Capital, and 2 loan applications came in for Superior Fine Grind and Tarentum Laundromat. 2 amendments were completed. And then under our Keystone Opportunity Zone, we had 1 inquiry. 6 businesses were served, 22 applications were approved, 6 businesses were improved, 682 jobs were created under this, and 10 jobs were retained with an investment of over $1 million. Next. And so, as I mentioned, technical assistance. This is grant season for Faith and myself, but specifically Faith. Just over the December-January timeframe, 26 organizations were served. Over 82 this year have been served. We have been traveling a lot. So DCED hosted a Winning the Grant conference in Altoona, Pennsylvania. This was a Senator Casey also sponsored event. He came in and introduced himself and talked to everybody in the room virtually. But in the room was EDA, ARC, USDA, all the local development districts, which were 1, and over 200 plus PA attendees. So why this event was held is that ARC was hosting a Getting the Grant event in Ohio, Kentucky, and I think Arkansas, one other state. But there wasn't anything in Pennsylvania. So DCED and all the partners got together and said, we want to do something just for Pennsylvania. So we said, we're in, here's how we can help. And then we also attended ARC's Getting the Grant in Portsmouth, Ohio. If you have never been, it is 4.5 hours away. And First time going there. So it was interesting. Gail Manchin came in virtually, unfortunately. I think if you hadn't heard, she was in a pretty terrible car accident. And so she still, despite all of that, came in virtual to speak to everybody. That woman is amazing. But ARC, DCG, SPC was there again, 200 plus Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Ohio, West Virginia attendees were in the room, basically providing technical assistance on how to go after funding, what resources are out there. But why Faith and myself are there is that anytime we came across an organization that needed that assistance, we were there one-on-one to say, here's how we can help. So ARC Power is currently open and active. Reminder, the Power letter of intent is due Friday. And if you have not had a chance to, or even had an idea of going out for that, please talk to Faith ASAP, because that is due, not the grant, but just the letter of intent is due Friday. We also have ARC area development. That's the more local dollars. Those dollars are on hold right now, but I wanted to, again, give a huge thank you to Faith. We had a record 9 Southwestern Pennsylvania applications accepted to move forward. We normally have 2, maybe 3. So that's $5.6 million and ask for over $15 million in support to the region. And then finally, ARC Arise is still open. Again, multiple state requirement here. So if you had a project that crossed state lines, doesn't have to be directly Ohio, West Virginia, et cetera. It could be Pennsylvania, New York, and Arkansas, whatever it would be. But talk to Faith on this. We've had $16 million awarded to our region so far. And then EDA is still looking for a project. Again, it's got to meet their criteria. But if you have something in mind, let's talk. Next slide. And so I'm going to go much more into detail at the next meeting about this, but the IWG, Interagency Working Group Rapid Response Team, is something that was recently put together, and they are trying to work with coal impacted communities, energy impacted communities. And so SPC has been recognized by this group as a best practice in outreach and stakeholder engagement. So they just reached out to us again to help host some additional meetings. So you're going to hear more about that, but they're going to continue the conversations like they did before with Armstrong, Beaver, Greene, Indiana, and Washington. They're going to be expanding out to the other counties in 2024 and 2025. But they want to hear from the communities, local government, nonprofits, basically workforce. What are your needs? How can the rapid response team help and provide technical assistance? So for those of you that might not remember, our prior timeline history with them is about August of last year. They reached out to us to talk to Washington, Greene, Beaver, Armstrong, and Indiana. We connected them to this board back in August, where they kind of gave an overview of what they're going to be doing. And then very quickly in September, they said, can you schedule something within the next 2 to 3 weeks? Your economic development organizations and your county planning directors just did a phenomenal job in working with these folks. And so we had Washington, Greene, Beaver, Armstrong, Indiana. They were meeting with you all one-on-one for various different types of things. And this all culminated in that that Westmoreland County Community College event in which Secretary of the Interior was there, Energy was there, Senator Casey was there, the governor was there, and SPC had the pleasure of giving a presentation on how we can help provide resources. So you're going to hear more about what they're going to be asking for at the next meeting, but the short version is they're going to be in your backyards and your communities and want to know how they can help. And one of the IWG members, Terry Dean, is going to be calling in, or I guess you could say remoting in for our next meeting. But any questions on that update? Thank you.
Okay, I guess then that leads us to Mr. G.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. A couple of things I had mentioned at the 2 o'clock meeting for those who aren't here. First of all, this is the biggest attendance I think we've had since COVID. So I want to thank all of you for making the trip. More than a dozen county commissioners, mayor, executives being here is so important. That we're part of this, working together. One of the things we're going to announcing is we want to have an orientation so that people truly understand all the things that the SPC does. And I think especially for those that have been newly elected or newly sworn in this year, may not be aware of all the things, and you've heard some of them that Dom and Jen and others are doing, but we're involved not just roads, bridges, transit, airports, rideshare. Trails, biking, the economic development that Jen talked about. There's so many different meetings in workforce development. We've been hearing about folks that are looking for workers. We're thinking, and we've been getting requests to host job fairs throughout the region, and we'll work with you on things like that. The GIS and traffic counts that, Kurt talked about briefly, broadband, the communications that we want to get out and let people know that Caitlin and her team are working on. Locks and dams, as DJ talked about, rail, the energy, and so there's just so much that we're involved with. And particularly right now with so much money available from the governor's budget that's coming out with a lot of things that are going to be voted on and worked on. Obviously at the federal level, the infrastructure bill, the IRA, the Chips and Jobs Act, there's just a lot of money that's available. We want to get our fair share. And the way we do that is obviously by putting good plans together and then going and putting those priorities together. As we met with you, the commissioners, a couple of weeks ago, getting your priorities, you're going to be following up with DJ and Caitlin, who were in the meetings with me, to try to strategize on what we can do for those type of things. And also, we may not know about all the meetings and all the events and activities that are happening in your counties. If you could let us know where you would like us to be present and participate on whatever the issue might be, the whole host of things I just talked about, please let us know about that. And the last thing I would say is there's a couple of big meetings coming up throughout this year where we can work with our partners at the Allegheny Conference, in the Chamber of Commerce, working with Stephanie Pashman and Matt Smith, and then with RABC and Dawn Smith. May 6th and 7th, there's going to be a big event in Harrisburg at the DTED facility. We'll get all that information to you. I plan on being there, and I think anybody else that wants to be part of that. It's a big conference that's put on. The governor will be there. The secretaries of transportation, DCED, et cetera, DEP will be there. And then in mid-September, they take a trip to Washington, D.C. And I think it's also important for us to get in front of our federal delegation, Senate and House, throughout the group that represents us. We'll get the details of that for you as well. But I think the power in us being able to go as a group and lobby bipartisan, rural, urban, suburban, all coming together can be very helpful and show the success that we're doing. And that's all I have, Madam Chair.
Speak at all, either now or later, a little bit about the nation relationships too that we've been fostering.
Yes. Moving in right on top of us, if you see the construction going on, is the R.K. Mellon Foundation. And one of the things I think that I've been able to do in my previous role, and I know Sarah and Ed do this as well, is meet with our foundations. We have such a strong philanthropic community here in this region, and they have expressed an interest in meeting with us as the SBC. So we're going to probably try to set up a meeting in the next month or two. And if we could have a representative from each county potentially be present at those type of meetings. And I'm looking at the commissioner across the road here and got that grant for the Hoodlebug Trail. It was a big part of, and that's just one of many that they're willing to do. And I think if we come again with good plans and good projects, they're often able to fill that last gap that sometimes the government funding doesn't do for us. So yes, that is something we'll be communicating in the coming weeks.
Is there anything else for the good of the order of questions now that you've sat through this? Does anyone have some questions or anything that's burning on your mind after listening to that? So there were three key documents, again, for those who are new, and we'll talk about this at the commission level. I think there's three key documents that the commission also has to approve each year, and that would, or approve over time. First is the long range plan. Second is, and that establishes the long-term vision, goals, and strategies for the region. Second is the fifth that we talked about, the transportation improvement plan, detailing the transportation projects and priorities over a 4-year period that's revised, that we look at every 2 years. Don't try to figure this out in a map because it won't work. And then finally, the unified planning work program that identifies regional transportation planning activities to be conducted within each state fiscal year. So trying to give you a little bit of tidbits about, what SBC is and what it does as we keep moving. All right, so our next meeting will be Monday, April 27th, 2024. We will have the annual meeting following the commission meeting to elect the officers for this board as well. Okay? We will take them, if there's nothing else, a motion to. Sorry, moving. Second.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Derek, thank you. I'm sorry. Refreshments while we take a 2-minute break before the commission.